It's October, the month of terror, the season of shadows, and that special time of year where we pretend horror isn't something modern media ran screaming from sometime around 2010. So this month, I'm taking a detour from the usual targets to celebrate all things horror, and today I'm looking at something that actually earned its cult status. A franchise drenched in gore, steeped in charm, and soaked head to toe in practical blood effects that would send today's CGI-smeared slop whimpering back to the render farm. And what better way to kick off the month of mayhem than by revisiting the first true horror film I ever watched? The one that was banned, buried, and made harder to find than a good streaming service. I'm talking about that infamous cabin in the woods, the possessed trees, the screaming faces, and the man with the chainsaw for a hand. You know the one. The film that refused to die no matter how many decades passed. The one that started with a group of friends, a tape recorder, and a Book of the Dead. And ended with a multiverse of madness that even Marvel couldn't dream up without blundering it into the ground. Welcome to the Snake Pit, where we're full of bile and venom. I'm your host, Snake Daemon, and this week I'm revving the chainsaw and loading up the boomstick to talk about a franchise that knows exactly how to balance horror, humor, and sheer bloody-minded brilliance. Let's talk about that trilogy. You know the one. A scrappy blood-soaked series that started in the early 80s with a group of unknowns and a shoestring budget, yet somehow managed to rip its way into cinematic legend. Over the course of 3 films, we watched a nobody named Ash get thrown through time, space, and about 12 gallons of fake blood, growing from a terrified everyman into the reluctant messiah of mankind. A beer-chugging, chainsaw-wielding, demon-slaying one-liner machine. And then decades later, just when you thought the Necronomicon was closed for good, it opened again. Enter Ash vs. Evil Dead, the sequel series we never expected, didn't deserve, but absolutely needed. Set 30 years after the original trilogy, it finds Ash working in retail hell, living in a trailer, and treating his past heroism like an embarrassing college phase. He's not a legend anymore. He's a burnout, a relic. A man whose greatest fear is that his best days are behind him. And that's exactly why it works. What begins as a grotesque nostalgia trip quickly turns into something far smarter, deeper, and yes, funnier than most people gave it credit for. Because Ash vs. Evil Dead isn't just a gore-drenched monster of the week, it's a surprisingly sharp, character-driven send-up of legacy storytelling. Ash isn't a hero because he wants to be. He's a hero because he's the only one stupid enough not to run away screaming, and that's where Pablo and Kelly come in, the unexpected heart of the show. Pablo is the idealist, the dreamer who believes in El Jefe. Kelly is the firebrand, the hard-edged skeptic with more guts than most action leads today could dream of. Together they drag Ash kicking and screaming back into the fight, and along the way remind him and us why we ever loved this lunatic to begin with. And it's also perfectly paced. By season 2, we're getting time travel, family drama, grotesque practical effects, and a level of creative freedom you rarely see on television anymore. Hell, they even brought in Lee Majors as Ash's dad, and the man kills it. There's a shocking amount of emotional depth for a show where heads are treated like dodgeballs and intestines are used as jump ropes. Then comes season 3, where things, well, get serious. A long-lost daughter, Brandy, enters the scene, and unlike, many of these so-called new generation legacy stories, it actually works. She doesn't replace Ash. She challenges him, forces him to grow, forces him to become something more than just a punchline. And there's a scene in a garage that's straight up one of the best in the series. Equal parts horror and heart, and proof that this show could juggle tones like Ash juggles boomsticks. And then Ashy Slashy comes in to end it too soon. Cancelled before its time, season 4 never came. The final episode gave us a glimpse of a Mad Max future, a new war, and an Ash fully reborn as a mythic figure. And just like that, poof, the lights went out. Let's not beat around the bush. This franchise went from banned VHS tapes to redefining horror comedy on modern television. Ash vs. Evil Dead didn't just continue a legacy, it perfected it. It's rare in today's content landfill to find something that understands tone, character, and absurdity so precisely. The blood was excessive, the laughs were louder, and Ash was legend. So, if you're sick of prestige horror where everyone whispers and trauma is the monster, or if you're tired of zombies that act like metaphors but move like molasses, go back to the man who figured it out decades ago. He may be crude, lewd, and barely competent, but he's also groovy as hell. Shop smart, shop S-Mart. Thanks for dropping by the Snake Pit, where we thrive on untapped potential and lost opportunities. Don't forget to subscribe and hit that bell, like the video, and leave your opinions in the comments, where, naturally, I won't read them. Until next time, stay venomous.